In this video we will discuss how to read the non-fiction passages in the SAT reading section in the best possible way so that you can find the correct answers the fastest. As you know, we have 3 non-fiction passages in the reading section, 2 science ones and 1 social science. Usually the social science text is number 2 after the fiction, and the sciences are usually number 3 and number 5. We will discuss how to stay on top of the text via underlining the main ideas of the text, the thesis, and all the sub-ideas which comprise the development of the argument. Because in a non-fiction text, as you know, there is a very clear argument that begins with the thesis and then is developed carefully, point by point, in each subsequent paragraphs. We will follow in this video, number 1, how to figure out the exact topic of the text. Number 2, how to find the exact thesis and where to find it. Number 3, how to read the text in its skeleton form, in paragraph by paragraph, and how to figure out how the paragraphs relate to each other and what is the main idea of each subsequent paragraph. We will go over one of the social sciences texts and we will underline and see all this in action. Why is this important? Number 1, it allows you to not get lost in complicated vocabulary. So even if there are sentences that you don't understand, it is enough to know whether they're part of, let's say, example of a main idea. And when you know their function in the text, is no longer so important what exactly this particular sentence means. Unless there is a question exactly on that sentence, but you will worry about this when you get to it. But not knowing the meaning of a sentence is not going to disrupt your reading of the whole text if you are identifying and underlining all the main ideas. Okay, let's focus on some reading essentials that will help you to understand the 5 reading text on the SAT and help you answer the questions better and faster. In this particular segment, we will cover the structure of the non-fiction text. And so what we are going to do is we will discuss how to identify the main ideas of the text and distinguish them from the secondary ideas, and see the connection between the thesis, which is the main idea of the text, and the consequent development of this thesis. We want to identify the main ideas and underline them while we are reading, because if you think about it, as we have mentioned, you are thrown into 5 different texts on 5 different topics as disparate as physics and history and biology, and you only have 3 to 3.5 to 4 minutes max to read the text and understand it, and then another 9 minutes to answer the question, so 13 minutes total. So understanding the text and the main ideas is absolutely crucial. Okay, so first, of course, you want to read the small print on top of each text and it gives you usually the name of the author, and it gives you the title of the text and some information. And this is very important. Here is an example from practice test 1. Crucial information about the topic of the text. So, for example, this is from the text is called Money Cannot Buy Love, Asymmetric Beliefs About Gift Price and Feelings of Appreciation. So, from this title, you can deduct that something to do with the fact that there is inconsistent beliefs about the price of a gift and the feelings of appreciation. But just from the topic, we don't get enough information about the main idea, because the main idea is an argument within this topic. But nevertheless, it's important to pay attention to it. All right, so the thesis, the main important argument of a text is going to be in the introductory paragraph, in the first paragraph. And usually what we have is a couple of introductory sentences at the beginning of the first paragraph that introduce this topic. In this case, something about gift giving in general and so on. And then you have the thesis, which is the main argument. So the argument could be that, if people knew more about, the psychology behind gift giving, they could save money, or people don't pay enough attention on what exactly makes them want to buy gifts, and so on and so forth. And you definitely want to underline the thesis of the text. After the thesis, after the first paragraph that has an introductory sentences and a thesis, you have a bunch of other paragraphs. Now, why do you have a bunch of other paragraphs? Because this main idea arguments needs to be developed. And it needs to be developed in a certain logical way that will make sense to you as a reader, okay? There are different ways, and the author has freedom in choosing how to develop the argument. But the author, he or she, will need to show us this argument from a few different aspects of it, and each of this aspect is going to be a separate paragraph, and hopefully they will combined together, they will create a good persuasive case for the thesis, which is in the first paragraph. So each of these paragraphs has its own main idea. So usually you can find that at the beginning of each paragraph. So for example, if the thesis is, let's say we took gift giving, so if the thesis is that gift giving is more related to feelings of appreciation than we are used to thinking, and there is a brand new research that shows that, the first paragraph after the thesis could give us the background of all the research that has been done in this field. And then afterwards, the following paragraph can give us an exact description of this particular groundbreaking research, and why is it groundbreaking, and what are the new things that it is uncovering. After which the author may wish to give a counter argument, so to show, in order usually to anticipate some maybe questions and maybe arguments on the side of his or her readers. So the author may say, yes, of course, it is true that there has been some other research that is showing a little bit of contradictory data, for example, this and that. And then, however, in the final paragraph state, however, most scientists support this groundbreaking research in such and such ways. So as you can see, taken together, this author would have, developed a certain type of argument in order to persuade us of his or her thesis. Now let's look at an example from the official College Board SAT test. So this is from SAT Practice Test 1. This is the text that we have been talking about. Okay, so let's go over it very quickly and show in practice what we just learned. So we look here, so we see, okay, so this is the title. Okay, so maybe I will, underline the title. Here is highlighting, but obviously if I was reading it on paper, I would underline. So I want to underline the title and maybe even circle if there is some terminology or something, if I want to remember it. And then I start reading. Okay, every day millions of shoppers hit the store searching for the perfect gift. Here we have those introductory statements that introduce us into the topic, right? Last year, Americans spent such and such amount in December, and then besides Christmas, they buy presents on other blah blah blah. Okay, so this in the beginning is introductory information. It's not an argument. You're just letting us know certain facts, and then we come to an interesting statement. This frequent experience of gift giving can engender ambivalent feelings in gift givers. Okay, so now this sounds like like an argument. Well, they are ambivalent feelings, and after that, you have many relish the opportunity. Many people relish the opportunity to buy presents, because gift giving offers a powerful means to build bonds. At the same time, many dread the thought of buying gifts. So we have some people who love it and some people who hate it. So these two sentences afterwards, they explain why people have ambivalent feelings. So this is the main, this is the thesis, and this also is part of the thesis. It's more explanatory, but still. So, but it's still, part of the thesis. So, what are the ambivalent feelings? Well, some people think that gift giving offers a means to build stronger bonds, while other people are afraid. They dread the thought because they're afraid they will disappoint whoever they're giving the gift to. Okay. So this is so you know what this whole text is going to be about. And then we go on to the next paragraph. So anthropologists, I always like to circle whenever there is a terminology or a certain type or a name of a person or a certain types of people are introduced, because you'll see later that in the same paragraph you have anthropologists, but you also have economists. So you want to circle it and underline it to make sure you're keeping track of who is saying what, because you might get asked a question, and you want to make sure that I'm actually gonna, so that I'm indicating this is circling, not underlining. So they might ask you questions about economists, so you have to be careful you don't answer about anthropologists. So anthropologists describe gift giving as a positive social process, while economists, however, offer a different kind of view. So it's a waste of, according to economists, it's a waste of resources. And he describes why it's a waste of resources. So I would underline what anthropologists think. So the anthropologists see giving as a positive social process, but economists think it's a negative social process. So this is one thing. Why the negative givers are likely to spend $100 to purchase a gift that receivers would only spend $80 to buy themselves. This dead weight loss, a definitely circular term, suggests that gift givers are not very good at predicting what gifts others will appreciate. So this sounds like a statement that is the main idea of this paragraph, that gift givers are not good at predicting what gifts others will appreciate. So this is the first idea through which the author develops his main thesis, that gift giving creates ambivalent feelings, ones of joy but also of worrying. And this explains why are people worried? Well, because they're not very good at predicting. This in itself is not surprising to social psychologists. Okay, so here you have another group of people, which is social psychologists, so also you have to circle it. And the same thing. Research has found that people struggle to take into account other perspectives, so it's the same thing. This is the main topic. And we go on to the next paragraph. So, what gift givers have considerable experience acting as both givers and recipients, but they still overspend. So they tend to overspend. This is an idea mentioned in the previous paragraph, so I'm going to underline it. In the present research, we propose a unique explanation for overspending. Okay, so this looks like it's gonna be the main idea of this paragraph. What is this explanation for overspending? Well, gift givers equate how much they spend with how much recipients will appreciate the gift. So gift givers equate how much they spend with how much the recipients will appreciate. And gift givers think that the more expensive the gift, the stronger the feeling of appreciation. So this is what gift givers think. And then the author says, such an assumption, however, may be unfounded. Indeed, actually, gift receivers don't think so. They're less inclined to base their feelings of appreciation on how expensive the gift is. And this is why gift givers are bad at, they're not good at predicting, because actually they think the more expensive the gift, the stronger the recipients, but that's not true. And so you continue like this, paragraph by paragraph. And now it's very long as an explanation, but as you're reading, if you just do this automatically and figuring out what is the main statement in each paragraph, then by the end of the 3.5 minutes, you will have a very clear idea of what the whole text is about. To recap, first of all, this kind of linear argument development works for nonfiction. We already mentioned that. Nonfiction are scientific articles, any types of, magazine articles, anything persuasive, articles on certain policies, and so on. Knowing the main ideas, keeping track of them, underlining them, will help you to stay on top of the text. This is very important because you will not be getting lost in, if you don't know this word or that word is not so important, because you still know the main ideas of the text. So, for example, if you have a paragraph where in the second half of the paragraph there is some very complicated sentence that you don't understand, what you need to remind yourself, okay, this is the main idea of the paragraph. The paragraph is about this. This sentence, I don't really know what it means, but I can seize an explanation or an example of this main idea. That's it. So you know what the function of the sentence is, you don't have to worry about it. Only when there is a question particularly about that sentence, then you go back and you worry about how to figure out the meaning of these words. And also when you have in your mind an idea, the text is about this, in the first paragraph the author does this, in the second this and this, then it will be easier for you to know exactly where to go to find an answer to a question based on what the question is about. And fiction is different. Fiction has a different way in which the development of the plot happens, and requires different things to be underlined, and we will discuss them in the next video.